All right, it's time for our Picks of the Week segment. This is the segment where you guys can recommend something to the photography TWiP Army listening audience. Christine, all word, Christine the photographer. I'm going to let you go first. What's your pick of the week?
Okay, I'm going to get my best geek on.
Uh-oh.
I'm giving an app. I think my last two have been paper-based picks of the week.
Oh, like books or something?
Yeah. So it's an app called TWiP. Have you heard of this?
I own TWiP Display, yes.
You own it?
Yes.
Oh, the app, not
The
the
app. No, not
You did
the
not
company.
create it, no.
No, I am not.
Like, shut up!
I am not the developer. I am a customer.
Have you talked about this already?
I think we talked about it a long time ago, but yeah, tell us what you think.
Well, so I have a pretty small little workspace, and I don't like to buy stuff, as we've established. So this turns my iPad into a second display, which for me when I'm home is basically where I put my junk, like my Spotify and my email and my messaging, so that when I'm editing, it's to the side. But the cool thing on location with tethering is that it gives me another display. So I can give a main monitor to a client, but then maintain a visual, because you can mirror your display. It's not just a secondary one.
Yeah, because
So
it just sees
turn
it
on
as
the-
another like monitor connected to your computer. It's not like it's a special thing. It's like there's another monitor connected to me, and you can do all the things that you could normally do with another monitor, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I just turn on the mirroring when I'm on location so that I can still keep an eye on what's going on, and then the client has the main monitor. Which is nice, because then I'm just, things are being redundant. I'm not continually adding to my gear pack like we talked about.
Very cool. Hey Don, is this available? It is for PC. Have you tried it?
I haven't. Well, I don't own an iPad anymore. I've switched to my my Microsoft Surface as a second device. But I'm not at a loss for desk space. I don't know if we can necessarily see this here, but I've got the one monitor here that is a secondary display that has everything else on, and then I've got a 32-inch display that has like a million icons and stuff on it, and then like a beastly computer that is sitting here that's all water-cooled and everything that weighs more than me almost. So yeah, I go big or go home.
I had no dreams or wishes that this was going to change Don's world in any way.
No, it's not going to change my world.
You're like spitting in Don's hurricane.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, what was that? I have no idea.
But I will say that that the idea of passing a secondary display to a client is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, it is.
So that if you can send, like, I know that Lightroom can split displays, and you can send a separate, more refined screen also to a second monitor, and so that you can show them just the good stuff while you've got all the user interface on your end. And to have sort of a side-by-side sit-down with the person where they can hold that in their hands while you've got the main screen in front of you, and they're on the other side talking to their significant other or whoever else is nearby, deliberating on a particular image versus a different one, and you can bounce back and forth and be in control of exactly what they're seeing without any of the stuff they don't need to see, I think is a wonderful idea.
Yep, I have to agree with that. Very cool. All right, I may have to start using mine now. I got it. I hate it. You're going to laugh at me, Christine, but I got it, and I used it. I plugged it into my iPad Pro, and I have another workstation at my house. My house is probably the antithesis of the Komarechka residence, right? Think austere, sparse. You've seen it. It's like it's not a whole lot of like crazy stuff going on here. But I have a workstation in my office now that's, it's my stand-up desk, where my MacBook Pro is, and off to the side is a iPad Pro that I generally watch YouTube videos on while I'm working on the Mac. I can look out the window. But I like it like that. I never thought of using it, and originally I had Duet Display connected, and it just made it kind of reduced the zen-ness of that area, because I had too much stuff over there. Unlike Don Komarechka, I had too much stuff. And I was like, this is too much. If I want more desk space, I'll go sit at my big desk and I'll have more desk space. So, but to use it as an external display on a shoot has merit.
And which really only works if you're stationary, because it does have to be plugged in.
It's not wireless.
It's not wireless. So
yeah.
It depends on the project, but it has come in handy for people's eyeballs to be Everyone
That's
is
cool.
happy.
And you could, oh man, now my brain is churning. You could go get one of those stands that musicians use to, to put your iPad on it. They use it, because they use iPads as for music, for sheet music. But
Just
you could get one of those and put your
yeah.
iPad on there and have it stabilized on a stand while you're shooting. Get it. And there's I was actually on Amazon today. They've got really long, 10-foot long Thunderbolt cables. I think the longest one I saw was 10 foot. But you can get these long Thunderbolt cables, plug that in, and you've got some mobility. Could work. I like it. All right, Christine, thanks for that. That's the duet display. And Don Komarechka, man, what is your pick of the week?
All right. I have. I admit that I have a bad case of gear acquisition syndrome.
I knew that one.
And so I.
Wait, with Christine, he also has gear acquisition syndromes.
Yes, exactly. So I have invested in some hardware recently, and this is a particular piece of gear from a company called Cognisys called the StackShot. And this is an automated focusing rail for macro photography. Now, I typically shoot a lot of my stuff handheld with macro work. It's a necessity of certain subjects, being water droplets and snowflakes that are melting and evaporating very, very quickly. But for certain projects, especially for video work, where I need very smooth automatic transitions moving into focus or rotating a subject, this is going to be fantastic. And I just used this on an unnamed shoot that I just did. It was the required piece of gear because they asked me if I could move through a subject to get a focus stack of it and get it perfectly pristine, and then rotate the subject by about a degree and do the same thing again in a way that can be then put into rotational video that puts it all together in a video set. So the StackShot, I mean, this is the focusing rail component of that, but Cognisys, they make the controller, which is so powerful. It has, I mean, it's unplugged right now, of course, but it has the ability to program it in, I don't know, 10 or 20 different ways based on the kind of hardware that you attach to it. You can have 3 different abilities for motion. You can do horizontal, back and forth, like left and right, forward and backward, if you have multiple of these attached together, so that would be 2 of them. They also have a rotational component. And the rotational component is really interesting because I can control this to shift it in just a circle so that it's spinning something around, which is what I needed to convert something to be a rotation by 1 degree. And it has a mode where I can focus stack the entire thing and then shift it by 1 degree and then focus stack it again. And it's worked phenomenally for that project, and I've got a ton of new ideas for it. And they've got this remote that I just think is the coolest thing ever, because while I can control it with the touchscreen on the device, I like having this little joystick that lets me move it forward and backward and then rotate it by moving this around. It's like I'm controlling my own little camera motion control apparatus here. The problem is it's not cheap. So you're looking at probably around $500 to $600 for an initial setup in U.S. funds. Once you get the setup with the rail, the controller, and a camera cable to control it. The rotational platform is, I think, another $350. The remote, again, is an expense on top of that. So I paid a lot for this setup. But I've got around 4 or 5 ideas right now that would not be possible without it, with some video stuff coming up over this winter. So I don't use this for a lot of my stills. When I'm doing stills, I like the freedom of rotating the camera around the subject. But for video work or when I need to be in a really controlled environment, I don't think there is a better choice than this.
And listening to you describe that, I know Christine is probably like, "Oh, I need to go run out and buy that right now. How could I've lived my entire life without that StackShot macro rail package?"
I think Don and I are going to be best friends.
You guys, the yin and yang, like completely the yin and yang. I love it.
We almost look like we could be related.
I know. You're like, Don, you could, I don't know who would be the younger brother, younger sister. I don't know. You guys might be twins. I don't know.
I kind of think so.
I love it. Cool. All right. So StackShot macro rail package, $549 to get into it. I knew. Did you post something like this? Like there were some shots that someone was doing with slow motion Was it you that posted it, Don?
It might
saw
not have
on
been me
Facebook.
because I just got this package recently, and I've put it into projects commercially that are not mine. I don't own the results of them. But I've got about, like I said, 4 or 5 ideas right now. If you could imagine this, Frederick, if you could imagine this platform right here, and if I have a super magnified macro lens pointing right to the center of this platform, and I leave this outside so it's nice and cold and it's not going to melt any snowflakes. And I put a clump of the most beautiful snowflakes in the center of this pedestal, and then I spin it and rotate it. How beautiful would that look? Okay, so that's one of the ideas. Now, maybe I'll even do that in stereoscopic 3D, which will blow people's minds.
You'll need to talk about that on your show. I think that is a perfect topic for your show. And that's a good example, what you talked about, like just to bring it full circle, to talk about the action cams we were talking about at the beginning of the show, how buying some gear for a need that you have versus, like, you would never have purchased that just to have it laying around just in case one day you might have to do some kind of photography.
I had a use for it, an immediate use. A client requested footage that required this, and so I bought it for that, and now I've got ideas that would not be possible without it.
There you go. And that's how it happens. That's cool. I love it. All right, it's time for my pick of the week. You guys ready for this?
We are.
All right, so my pick of the week is this brand new lens that it's not a new lens, actually. It's new to me. It is a 42.5 f1.7 micro four thirds lens. And let me show it to you here. All right, here it is right there. Look at this. Look at that. So this camera, just so you can get an idea of the size of this camera. So this is the Panasonic GX8 right here. So that's how big the GX8 is. It's stabilized, 5-axis image stabilization. This is a beautiful camera. It's got an articulated LCD on the back. And then on the front of it, I have this little tiny 42.5, which is an 85 in full frame terms. And look how big this is. Look at this. Look at that.
Oh, look how cute!
It's a little, look, this is my iPhone. Look at that. Right there. And this lens, the images, sorry, Don. I know you're compensating. So the images that come out of this lens are fantastic. So the other body that I carry around is this guy. This is my Lumix G, the G8 right here. So it's got an articulated screen on there, and it has my 15 millimeter f1.7 on it. So between these two, I can shoot 90% of the stuff that I need to shoot. And look, it's like...
And
nothing.
both of those weigh about a third of my camera.
Yeah. Exactly. But we're doing different kinds of stuff. You're doing NASA level stuff. so much respect to the Komarechka. But it is available on Amazon. Here's the screen. So it's on Amazon right here. This is it. It's a beautiful. It's like before I bought this lens, I did the whole YouTube journey of watching reviews after review after review on this lens. Unfortunately, we didn't have any on All About the Gear, but there were other reviews on this thing, and they were like, people just rave about it. Now there's another lens that Panasonic makes, which is I want to say it's the 42.5 millimeter Nocticron. And I think that's the most expensive lens Panasonic makes, and it's also like 5 times the weight of this one. But it's a 1.2. So
yeah, it's amazing how that scales, right? From 1.7 to 1.2, and it just becomes this massive piece of glass that you can barely handle.
Yeah. We heard. Is this it right here? No, that's not it. I won't pull it up. But it is. Yeah, it's a beautiful lens, and I'm in this whole exercise of minimalism using just these 2 lenses and these 2 bodies. Each of these cameras are configured identically with the same, hot buttons and everything. So I can pick up either one, and I know exactly what's going to happen when I press the shutter. So it's liberating. And I have other lenses, but these are the ones that I'm carrying around, when I go out.
Right.
These are the ones that are in my bag all the time. I hope you enjoyed this quick clip of This Week in Photo. If you'd like more videos like this, just subscribe to our YouTube channel or subscribe to our podcasts, that's plural, over at thisweekinphoto.com.